The fluid nature of defense contracting really took me by surprise.
Graduated from the Air Force Academy in 2000, and I separated from the Air Force in 2006. During that time, I was at 5 different locations. I ended up at the Space and Missile Systems Center in Los Angeles. While I was there, I was deployed to Iraq for practically a year with the Army during Operation Enduring Freedom, and got out shortly thereafter.
I deployed for 6 months to Balad Air Base north of Baghdad, and then following that, my career field in the Air Force was overmanned, and they decided that they were going to start paying people some money to separate, to get out, put my hand up in the air. I enjoyed what I was doing, but was ready to do something a little bit different.
Did 4 years in the Air Force as an enlisted troop. Got out. Really wasn't the Air Force I was expecting, because I was stationed at a DFAS finance center, not a real operational base, so I don't believe that I saw the Air Force. So got out,
But while at Audi, I had an Agile coach, and my Agile coach there said, you would really be a great coach. She said, because as a Scrum Master, I was a Scrum Master at the time, she says, you just basically be doing that same advocacy that you do for your team, you will be doing that for the entire organization. Fast forward to my time at BMW. I'd been there for a year. She calls me and says, hey, I work for a defense contractor now, and we would like to bid for a defense contract in Los Angeles. Will you move there for us? I said, yes. I moved to Los Angeles, and once I came here, I began with the Agile Readiness Center, where I am now in Atlas Corps. And that particular company only had a 4-month contract. After the contract ended, they had no other contracts in Los Angeles. And therefore, I didn't know exactly what I would do. But lo and behold, the companies which obtained the contract, the longer term contract for the same group, the Agile Readiness Center, they called and said, hey, the client loves you. They loved what you did. Would you mind coming to do that for us and just staying at with the same organization, but just through a different defense contractor? And I said, yes, that's perfect. So that's how I came to OMNI.
When I separated from the Air Force, I felt I was done with the industry, and I guess I was at the time. I went to General Electric, and I was on the supply and on the housing and commercial supply side. So when residential and commercial real estate dried up, so did that business. I came back to the industry and was thankful again for what it offers, which is the stability of money and government long-term contracts.
And took that opportunity to do a management consulting job for about 4 years following separation, where I traveled all over the country, working with different contractors, large and small, people like Lockheed Martin or Remington, or even small IT companies, helping them win government business. And what I realized working with several of those commercial companies doing commercial work is that I had a really hard time connecting with how meaningful it was that they were doing, and at the same level I could with jobs that were maybe more defense or more veterans focused.
Went and worked on the commercial side for about 6 months, and had an old supervisor who I worked with at the DFAS, who was working at LA Air Force Base. She asked me to come over and work with her there. So did that, good experience, thought it was a great move. And I've been at LA Air Force Base ever since 2003.
As I've been speaking to people who have been in this space for 20, 30 years, and in my own experience, I've noticed that myself as the contractor is the most stable part of that group. because I'm the one who will still be there when our government personnel goes on to bigger and better things.
You know, being in the military, you do learn certain skills, a lot of skills that are very particular to the defense industry itself, right? Definitely it was an easy transition to just move in that area. And you know, you do have friends, you have a lot of a community you built around while you were in the service, that really made the transition more appealing.
I wanted to get back into what I was doing before in a way that allowed me to be closer to those things that I felt were important. Nobody wants to get out of bed in the morning and dread going to work or hate the work that they're doing because they don't feel it's meaningful. And so I feel like we as a company very much do that, and it's easy for me to connect with those missions, right?
And I was also very comfortable with contracts and knowing that there'll always be another one spent. And sometimes that's a fear of people getting out of the military, is they want to be working for a big company and they want that perceived stability. Well, I could tell you that the stability wasn't there for me in a big company. But on the government side, there's contracts, there's long-term money. That money doesn't go anywhere, and understanding like how to position for that money is also something to consider when you're working at OMNI and growing the business.